You see right here, Franklin came up right on our website. This is an E1 web page. All right. It's embedded in JD Edwards. So it is a product that is going to be used within your JD Edwards community as you see fit. However, Franklin or the digital assistant can reside on a website. It can also reside on a SharePoint site. So if you really want to be able to extend to the organization or to the enterprise data that is meaningful to them, Franklin could be your UI or your user experience for them. Right now, for our today's demonstration, we thought it was really relevant to show it completely in the context of our JD Edwards demo data, as an example, in our particular instance of E1 web page. What's also a point to make as we're kind of staring at the screen, and we're going to move on, but the one thing is, this is actually, we host this particular lab instance right now. We are actually using Franklin, which is a cloud app. So we have married the two. It does not matter whether it's on-prem or it's cloud to cloud or a hybrid model. We're actually showing a hybrid kind of approach here. So Drew just brought that up, said, welcome to the webinar, which is really nice to get the conversation started with our digital assistant. Lets us know that, hello, Drew. So it recognizes Drew and basically declares itself as Franklin, helping us with the webinar. Drew's highlighting a couple things here, guys. This is where we've allowed AI, or Drew mentioned it earlier, a large language model, to start to kind of converse to us in a very natural kind of way. We don't want, that traditional robotic kind of session. Instead, rather, this is actually basically generating a narrative around this conversation. So the next thing it comes back and it says, how can I help you? We've got 4 selections there, but the one, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to focus on manufacturing operations, or operational management, if you will. So it clicks through, leads us to the next set of questions, which is good. And so again, let's apply this to a much broader audience, not necessarily manufacturing. I want to go into geek speak on E1, and I don't want to go into geek speak on manufacturing. But what I want to do is I want you to be able to think a little bit broader and think about maybe this applies to the address book or to my financial scenario, or maybe even the inventory distribution as a good working example. So in this particular case, Drew, why don't you go ahead and click on one? So we want to know a little bit about maybe, say, some master data around it, current routing. Okay, so we've got a scenario, comes back and says, hey, you want to get some master data? We got it. And it basically says, what branch plant or business unit are you specifically looking for? So Drew's going to either click in M30 or he can type in the Eastern branch because it recognizes that we've trained it on that. But Drew will do that a little later on. It says, great, I'm going to use M30. We know that's our branch plant for this particular set of routing instructions. And it's on to asking us about the next question. And says, okay, tell me more about the item. So we are using JD Edwards demo data. So in this particular case, this is a red bike. So Drew said, all right, I'll go ahead and type in red. And it's intelligent and trained enough to say, okay, I can translate that to be item 220. I like it. So it says, in this case, we want to take master data associated with branch plant M30, item 220, which is the red bike. We want to know a little bit about this. We want to know, all right, is there is this a standard? Let's take a look at a standard here, Drew. So M, it's going to come back. All right, it says, hey, I found your routing, good to know. And it really gives us a lot of data that was essentially quick to point out to the end user that they can kind of base some quick decisions on without having to navigate through a whole set of E1 applications. And better yet, kind of like I believe it was Dan was kind of mentioning, really on that UX or that better user front end experience. So now what Drew's got here is an illustration example where it says, I can actually give you an application link. So take us in an application link. Select, there you go, Drew. All right, you can go take a look at it. So, all right, so what I want to point out here is just like I was mentioning, again, it's master data. Don't get too caught up on manufacturing or branch plants and E1 speak. We're looking at item 220, our red bike, and branch plant M30, our Eastern division. And we've got 6 steps associated with this particular work order, this master work order. Okay, one thing I want Drew to do is just basically click on that 5th item, which is step operation sequence 50. So in this particular scenario, this set of work orders, it's basically on the 5th step saying, hey, you got to do test and inspect. The reason why we're honing in on that one is because we're going to illustrate the update integrations of thereafter. Okay, all right, so that's good. We got a nice integration point to E1. You can have the faith of either getting the data back, or you can visibly see it within the application without really having to do the menu navigation or other means by which you may be getting in the app.